The New York Jets sent shockwaves through the fan base when they traded both Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams. We're going to talk all about the moves and what it means for the future, so let's get fired up. While you're here, hit that like button for me and please subscribe to the channel. I hated to see both of these guys go. They were both very good players, and they were both great people. When the news broke about Sauce Gardner, I was absolutely stunned, because it came completely from out of nowhere. There had been no talks about Sauce even being available, especially considering the fact that he just got paid. That was an absolute shock. I could not believe it. Then I heard we got 2 first-round picks, and I thought to myself, well, they got an offer that was too good to pass up. And I guess I was okay with it. Then I hear that we got A.D. Mitchell in addition to the 2 first-round picks. And I was somehow more okay with it. The more I thought about the compensation, the more I didn't really hate the move, as much as I like Sauce. And I like Sauce. Last night, Connor Rogers asked a question in one of his videos, and he said, when is the last time Sauce had a game like the one J.C. Horn had against us? The answer is never. He's never had one. Multiple takeaway, just crazy games like that. And when you put Sauce up against the other top corners, Surtain, J.C. Horn, even Stingley, it's the lack of turnovers that's the difference that separates all of them. And yes, Sauce was great. He rarely ever even allowed a catch. But you know what? I would take, 4 catches for 36 yards and an occasional touchdown that maybe AZ is going to give up, compared to, 1 catch for 12 yards and no touchdowns that Sauce is going to give you. The fact is, as much as we all liked, both Sauce and Quinnen, they were both great people, their abilities, their talents were not translating to wins. Neither one of those guys was winning us games with their play. Moving on to Quinnen, a second this year, a first next year, we're really setting ourselves up for the future nicely. Quinnen was unhappy. Apparently, he had asked the Jets for a trade 3 different times. We didn't hear any of that. But you know what? I have to be honest, okay? Quinnen Williams was not splitting double teams and just living in the backfield and up in quarterbacks' faces, like he was, say, when we went to Green Bay, that game that we had against Aaron Rodgers. We weren't getting that version of Quinnen anymore. He was phoning it in a lot. It showed. There were people who said, they see him huffing and puffing. Well, maybe his preparation was down too. He just didn't want to be here. And, if I can say anything, Glenn and them have definitely fixed the leaks in the building. Because in the past, if a guy had asked for a trade 3 times, we would have been all over it. The media would have been all over it, and it would have been a big deal and a big distraction, and we heard nothing. We heard nothing until after the fact. It's interesting the position they put us in now. These were some bold moves, but they have really set us up nicely for the future. And, right now, we are set up to have back-to-back drafts that are like the draft that brought us Sauce and Garrett and Jermaine and Brees. We have the picks to do that not only this year, but the following year as well, with 3 ones in 2027. Including one of those picks this year probably being a top 3 pick for a quarterback. Glenn has not been perfect as a head coach, okay, but he's been the typical rookie head coach with some of the clock mismanagement, timeout usage, and some of those decisions. He hasn't been perfect, but I don't think that he's made any coaching decisions that were so egregious they're unforgivable, or, more importantly, I don't think there's been a coaching decision that just outright cost us a game. You can debate that if you want, but I trust this regime because Mougey and Glenn, they both have scouting backgrounds. Okay, and if you look at the last draft that they had, 4 out of the first 5 picks are starting for this team now. Membu and Mason Taylor and Azare Thomas and Malachi Moore. The only one who isn't is Arian Smith. Aaron Glenn, I've heard people criticize him and say, yeah, but he's the one making the decisions, and he kept guys like Michael Clements and Tony Adams. And listen, like I said, Glenn hasn't been perfect, but I think what Glenn did is he made personnel decisions based solely on the tape. Because before he got here, he didn't know any of these guys, so that's all he had to go on. He looked at their physical abilities on tape and determined whether or not he thought he could use them. Okay, some guys just simply didn't fit his system, maybe. But there's other guys like Quinnen Williams, who I'm sure he watched the tape and went, hey, this guy's good. I can definitely get something out of him. But then once he got here and was around him and could tell that Quinnen was checked out, like, that doesn't fit the culture that he's trying to build here. And likewise with Sauce. And Sauce was always a great guy. But if there's anything that ever bothered me about Sauce, is a lot of times when he would talk to the media and they would ask him about, say, a bad performance by the defense, he would always say, like, well, I personally didn't give up, any passes, but, and it inadvertently, it was kind of like he was throwing his teammates under the bus because it was never his fault. But, and maybe that lack of accountability, I never saw him get up there and say, you know what, I only gave up one pass, but that pass I gave up to Booty in the Patriots game, it was a turning point and it cost us the game, and that can't happen. I got to be better. I've never heard him say that. So I don't know, man. Like, Glenn is building a culture here. He knows the kind of guys he likes. He knows what fits it. Mougey, I think, knows what Glenn's kind of guys are, and he's brought in, Phillips and Briggs and Brownlee. Now they're bringing in A.D. Mitchell, who I heard they really pushed for. And, the worst decision I think that Aaron Glenn has made as a coach is when he didn't bench Justin Fields halfway through that Denver game. But listen, the Glenn haters, they're going to try to take every word he says literally. And so, when he got here and he said, we're trying to win games now, they're going to take that literally. But, dude, he's a coach. That's his job. His job is to coach his players and instill confidence in them. If he went up there and said, well, I'm going to do my best, but we're probably not going to win many games with the way things are. No coach is going to say that. So I don't know what you expect. The other thing is the one thing that I can't stand is how insistent he is in backing Justin Fields. And I get it, I think everything from the contract they gave him to handing them the starting job outright, everything has been about trying to build his confidence and get the most out of him. And I understand that. And don't kid yourself. I'm sure Aaron Glenn knows just as well as you and me and everybody else that Justin Fields is simply not the guy. That's it. But you know what? We're stuck with him for the year. That's it. Uh, but the potential for the future is massive right now. With the draft picks that we have right now, what those picks turn into is going to determine everything. We can't say right now. We're in the position to get a lot of really good players and really turn this thing around quickly if we have a good draft or two in a row. But people who want to pick on Glenn's coaching, Brandon Stevens at the beginning of the year was a complete liability. The teams were picking on him. We were all screaming how bad that contract was. And over the last 4 games, Brandon Stevens is PFF's highest graded corner in the entire NFL. That's a massive improvement under Glenn's coaching. Kiko, the first game he played when Quincy got hurt, he looked completely lost out there. He's turned into a competent player. And Isaiah Williams, dude, the fair catch at the 2-yard line, the fumble, the keeping the ball from going out of bounds, like his debut was the biggest disaster you have ever seen from one player. Absolutely everything he did was wrong. And then, this past game, he had a nice 25-yard run, had another catch, and averaged about 26 yards a return. Gave us some decent field position with nice returns all day. He actually has turned into a contributor after that horrid game that he had in his first game. Guys have showed improvement under Glenn. Guys have shown that they're developing under Glenn. And as time has gone on, this defense has gotten better and better. Now that they're learning Glenn's system and they know their assignments, they know where they're supposed to be, they know how to react in certain situations, the defense has been playing better. So there's several improvements that you can see, under Glenn's coaching. And Glenn was never going to get fired. I've said that all along. I knew he wasn't getting fired. I knew that Woody knew this was going to be a process, and I think that's why they gave him a 5-year deal. And so everybody knew that Justin Fields was a dart throw. Like, we were going to roll the dice, but no, I don't think anybody really ever expected him to be the answer. Take a chance on him, and if you can turn him around, great. If not, then, we'll get our quarterback next year. I mean, that was the thinking going into this. So now that that's exactly where we are, I don't really see it as that big of a shock. I mean, it's the way we got here was certainly unexpected, but at the end of the day, I don't think we're in that much of a different position. Just the win-loss total is not what anybody expected. But this is the thing. Aaron Glenn was here when we had a draft with 4 first-round picks after the Keyshawn trade. They got a quarterback in that draft, in Chad Pennington. They also got 2 of our best pass rushers, one of our best pass-rushing duos in the team history in Abraham and Ellis, as well as tight end Anthony Beck. With the Sauce deal off the books, it gives them the financial flexibility to solve the Sherwood problem. If it continues to be a problem, if it proves that his deal is going to be a problem, we've got enough money that we could re-sign Quincy again if we wanted to. Eric Anzalone, linebacker from Detroit, will be a free agent next year. And I could definitely see Glenn bringing a guy like that in here. And hey, just because Sherwood just got paid doesn't mean they won't haul off and trade him if they can, because after what Mougey just did with Sauce and Quinnen, I mean, I think that really goes to tell you that when Glenn said he's going to follow Parcells' example of every guy's got a price, Well, he's definitely living up to that. Apparently, every guy really does have a price, and Sauce was never supposed to be on the market. However, somebody came with a price that was so high that they went, yeah, you know what? He's a great player, but I think we can get by without him. And for that kind of a payoff, 2 firsts and a player, like, it was too good to pass up. Now, if the Jets hit on a quarterback in this next draft, we could be good for years to come. If we turn these picks that we just got into viable players, productive players, we can be good for years to come. And I'll tell you what, like the more I thought about it, the more I liked it, the more I thought it was a great move. It was a ballsy move, a gutsy move. But, no matter how bold it was, at the end of the day, I like it. I like these moves. So I was kind of stoked last night and thinking about all the possibilities that could be. And so I got on the mock draft simulator thing. And before I even picked, the first thing that happened was a window pops up with a trade offer from the Cleveland Browns. They'll give me number 6 and number 19 overall, their 2 first-round picks, to move up to number 3. And I'm thinking, damn, look at that. With the picks that we have, somebody could want to trade us. We could trade back on one of those picks and get more. Like they might not be done. They could even do more. Mougey was there in Denver when they rebuilt, and they got Bo Nix. Glenn and Mougey, both of their backgrounds are in scouting. Like, I'm not worried about them evaluating talent. They had to rely a lot on the old scouting department when they first got here last year. But the return on last year's draft, I mean, I said it before, Membu, Taylor, Thomas, Moore, all starting, and have all been good. So, if we look at the context of the last draft and we look at the players we brought in via trade, whether it be Phillips or Briggs or Brownlee, they've all been good. They've all been good, impactful players. So I don't think there should be any hesitancy on, Glenn and Mougey picking the quarterback or making these picks. Not at all. And I'll tell you what, I did my mocks. I got Mendoza in both of them with our first pick. One, I had wide receiver Denzel Boston and wide receiver Chris Bell from Louisville. 2 beast receivers back to back. The other one, I had Boston, and I got a pass rusher like Cassius Howell. And in both of them with a second round pick, I got the best linebacker in the entire draft in C.J. Allen. So, the potential for what the Jets could do with this is just crazy. The year that we got Sauce and Garrett and Jermaine, we moved up for Jermaine. But with the picks we have this year, our second round pick at 35 overall, that's just outside the first round. We could easily use that and move back into the first and have 3 firsts and a second identical to that year. We could have a draft as big and as impactful as that Sauce and Garrett and Jermaine draft. And not only could we have one this year, we could have one the following year too that's even crazier, with 3 first round picks. This could be the turning point for this franchise. It seriously could. The options, in the top 46 alone next year are beyond intriguing. If they make the right picks, we could get a lot of really good players, and this thing could turn around quicker than people expect. But, it's all dependent on those picks and what they turn out to be. But I don't have any problem with this regime picking them. I have confidence, for the first time in a long time, everything they've done, emphasizing the blocking and the tackling in camp, like talking about building the culture. We've seen that he holds guys accountable. The penalties have decreased. It's been a slow process, a painfully slow process, very painful. But it is slowly trending in the right directions. And with a big infusion of talent, like what that'll bring, not to mention all the cap space we have, I think that one day we may look back at this day of the trade deadline as the day that things finally turned around for this franchise. I think we're going to look back at this day and say that was the day that we acquired the assets to become a winner. I really honestly believe that. I know there hasn't been much positive to talk about. With these moves, it certainly looks like they're just throwing in the towel for this year. I hope they can be competitive. They did not trade Quincy. I'm fine with that. People keep screaming like we should have got something for him. Listen, most of the time, your 5th, 6th, 7th round picks are guys that usually don't even make the team. Or if they do, they're camp bodies or extreme depth pieces at best. Only your Aaron Glenn critics will go, but you traded for Tyler Barron. It doesn't matter. Like a 5th round pick usually doesn't make the team. We're not relying on all 5th round picks to be starters. Yes, it's nice when one of them does turn out, but, mainly, your top 3 or 4 rounds, you need to hit on those guys. But 5, 6, and 7, I'm not as worried about. And all I know is that now we have the ammunition to set this thing up to not be just good this year and win this year. We have the potential to be good for years and years to come. And once again, it all depends on if we hit on these picks. But I actually think this is a positive. I think this should make Jets fans hopeful and tell them that, yes, there is something to look forward to in our future. It sucks that it's a year away. It sucks that we're getting good news that something good could happen, 6 months from now, but not right now. This is probably going to be a long year, and it's probably going to be a rough one. I hope the guys stay bought in. I hope they keep fighting. I hope we get some competitive games, but I don't expect them to go on a run. And at the same time, I don't think the loss of Sauce and Quinnen is going to drastically affect our win and loss total either. I think at this point, saddled with the quarterback that we are, the Jets kind of just are what they are right now. And there's not much that can be done except just to ride this year out. That being said, like I said, we're set up nicely for the future. I think there's a reason to be hopeful. And you know what? Everybody hang in there. Better times are coming. Have faith in this coach. This could be the day that the turnaround finally began. We may look back on this day fondly. I certainly hope so. Anyways, thanks everybody for tuning in. Be sure to hit that like, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, go Jets.